Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Proverbs with Paul in this afternoon, Friday afternoon, and the sun is shining still. Wonderful. And thank you for Gary for pointing out yesterday the mistake I made regarding reading the red rather than Proverbs for this event. So, Proverbs chapter 12 and verse 3. A man will not be established by wickedness, but the root of the righteous will not be moved. So the establishing of a man, and the concept of establishing that Solomon uses here is the ability for a seed to grow into the depth of a soil and create, as it were, a foothold or a standing in the soil that will enable this thing that's been planted to grow and develop and mature. So the establishing of something, a plant, but in this case, the establishing of a man will not take place on the basis of the inappropriate. A man will not be established by wickedness. And we've said many times, wickedness is evil and the joy of doing evil to others, causing them harm and causing you pleasure by the wickedness that you've been doing. So a man will not be established. He will not take good root. He will not have a good footing if he tries to build, as it were, from a seed of wickedness. So we often say that crime doesn't pay. And yet we look at the world and actually we see it appears that crime does pay. And sometimes Israel found themselves, one of the prophets began to moan about the fact that crime was paying. The righteous were being disregarded and the unrighteous were being established. And he begins to moan and God passes a judgment. But in truth, crime doesn't pay because it ends up, if we get caught, all the things that we've established for ourselves will be taken away from us. Crime doesn't pay. And Solomon is saying that you will not be established by a spirit of wickedness. Otherwise, you will, in effect, you just won't be. So, and then it says, but the root of the righteous will not be moved. So unlike the unrighteousness of the wicked, the root of the righteous will actually be established. So it means that the righteous will go into the soil and they will be established. They will, as it were, make an impact. They will be able to become strong. There will be, as it were, a foothold for the righteous. How does a world change? How does society change? How does an individual change? The first step is recognizing there's a problem. And when we recognize there's a problem, that's when change has the potential to come about. But until we recognize and realize the problem, we're far, far, far away from the blessing of those things that are going on in our life. Thank you very much for joining me. Have a great weekend. Be blessed. And I'll see you on Monday morning.